Today in this video, I'm going to talk about how to study for the Six Sigma exam, and really any Six Sigma exam. It doesn't matter if it's yellow belt, green belt, black belt, what institution. This video is going to cover all of that. If you're interested in that, make sure you stick around. Hi, my name is Chad Burrows. Welcome back to the channel. I am a Fortune 500 business improvement professional, and I try to help people understand these types of concepts and principles and how to use that in their own business or in their own career. If that kind of thing interests you, make sure you click that subscribe button below and click that bell notification so you'll be notified when I release a new video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I do appreciate your support. Now, recently I've had a lot of folks reach out to me because they're preparing for their Six Sigma exam and they're asking questions around how to prepare for the exam. So in this video, I want to share 5 key things that I did to prepare for my Six Sigma Black Belt exam through ASQ, and it helped me really pass on the first try. Now make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be sharing a pro tip that most folks don't even know they can do, but it is allowed. I'm going to share this pro tip with you, so make sure you stick around because you don't want to miss that. And tip number 1 is study for the organization that you're trying to get certified through. I always recommend finding the materials that are offered through the organization that you're trying to get certified through and using those materials to study and prep for the exam. Now, most respectable organizations are going to have some kind of study system, study guide. They're going to either have their own system or they're going to have links to refer you to another, maybe somebody they're partnered with that they've created some sort of study system for their platform. But either way, they're going to have some study materials available for you that you can use to study for their exam, to prep for their exam. You're going to want to make sure that you find that material and use that material when you're prepping for your exam or for the exam that you're trying to get certified through. You don't want to be bouncing around between one certification and another certification because they're going to be a little bit different. In other words, if you're trying to get certified through the ASQ and you've exhausted all possibilities within ASQ, in other words, you've taken all of their exams, their quizzes and everything like that, then you kind of try to find another institution and say, well, let me go see if I can find some practice exams over there. It's going to be a little bit different. That's because each organization has their own staff of folks that are writing those exams. For example, I had a few folks reach out and say that, look, they've studied all their exams, their ASQ exams, the practice questions and exams offered through ASQ. So they decided, I'm gonna go try to find some practice exams offered through another organization. And what they found is that the question formatting and answer choices were vastly different. The most likely reason for this is because each organization is going to have their own staff of folks that are writing up those test questions and answer choices, right? So for example, ASQ is going to have a certain set of black belts or master black belts that are going to be employed by them, and they're going to be writing those test questions for the actual exam. So ASQ will probably then go in and take some retired questions, some old questions, right? That then maybe they're revamping, and they'll pull those questions out and they call them retired questions, and they'll put those on the practice exams and quizzes. But what you'll notice is, because they've been pulled from the real exam, they're going to be kind of formatted the same way. The questions and the answer choices are going to be formatted the same way. So when you're studying for the ASQ exam, using ASQ's exams and questions as practice exams and questions, you're going to be more familiar with how the real questions are going to be formatted when you go take the actual exam. No, you're not going to see the actual questions, but they'll be formatted the same because they're kind of written by the same folk. Now, tip number 2, almost covered in tip number 1. I've elaborated on it so much, but that is find practice quizzes and exams. Now, when you're finding your practice exams and quizzes, be sure to find full-length exams, right? You want to make sure you're finding exams that are full in length. In other words, their entire length of the actual exam you're going to be taking. If it's 4 hours, you want to make sure you find a few 4-hour length exams so you have those to practice with. The quizzes you want to make sure you have by subject area. In other words, these exams are usually broken down into probably 7 and 10 different categories. Obviously they're going to be broken down into DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, right? Because that's sort of the framework for Lean and Six Sigma. But sometimes they also break it down with Lean, and then they also have Six Sigma and the organization. So you'll have those types of questions in there. But either way, you want to make sure that they're broken down into these categories where you can take quizzes on that specific area. When you do that, you can focus in on those areas that you're not performing so well on, and that will help you get better overall. Now, when we're talking about taking full-length exams, I recommend taking at least 3 full-length practice exams before sitting for the actual exam. This will make sure you have enough practice, and it'll sort of get those nerves calm, I guess you could say, before you take the full-length exam. If you're liking what you hear in this video, make sure you give me that thumbs up right now. That way you can help me out with this YouTube algorithm and get this video promoted and in front of more people. So now that you've found your practice quizzes and exams, this tip is more around the quizzes rather. So you're going to want to take those quizzes because you already know they're divided out by subject area, but you want to make sure you're mastering each subject area before moving to the next subject. Now, this is something that really helped me when I was practicing for my exam, and it's something that's hard to do though because you really want to you want to get through all of it for some reason and you want to keep moving forward, but the idea of this strategy is that you're mastering each section before moving forward so that when you get to the final exam, your final practice exam, you'll be more prepped for that final exam. Now, what does mastering each section mean? Well, I was trying to score at least 80 to 90% on each subject area before moving to the next subject area. This would ensure that I sort of mastered that area before I tried to conquer that big exam at the end. This is something I would definitely recommend you do. This is something I recommend people when they call me, they reach out to me on LinkedIn. If they ask for a strategy, this is definitely something I recommend. So try this out, see how it works for you. It's not gonna hurt you by any stretch of the imagination, so I would definitely recommend trying it out for yourself. And tip number 4 is create a study environment. Creating a study environment is gonna really help you get into the mindset of studying when you go back to that study area. So each time you visit that area, you're gonna be in that mindset that you're gonna study. It's gonna get your wheels turning, and it's gonna get those creative juices flowing, whatever it is, however you wanna say that, but it's gonna get you into the mood of studying. Now, I know it can be difficult to try to set up a new area or home office. Some people don't have that. So it could be a kitchen table that you have a specific area on that kitchen table that you're gonna study for your exam. And each time you're in that area, I promise it's gonna put you in that mindset of, hey, I'm studying, and it's gonna get those, I guess, your mind prepped for what is to come, which is probably a few hours of hardcore studying. One thing for sure is you do not want distractions, right? This is the part of the environment that's really important. Put away the phones, put away the computers, put away everything that's gonna distract you from buckling down and studying. What I would do with my phone is, because I want to use my phone for binary tunes, so if you've ever heard binary tunes, I like listening to those when I'm trying to study. It has no words, no music. So fundamentally what that means is, what I found, if I used like songs, so I like listening to music. So if I was listening to music, I would get caught up into the words of the song and I would stop focusing on studying. So I found that using binary tunes really helped me. So if you can find some on iTunes, or if you can download some, that's great. That way you can put your phone on the airplane mode when you're studying, and that will help you stay free of distractions. So if you're in the middle of studying and you're listening to your tunes and you're really into something, and then somebody messages you and it beeps, or somebody tries to call you or FaceTime you or whatever, then that's really gonna distract you and pull you away from your study. You don't want that. So make sure if you're using your phone for those tunes, you put the airplane mode on so you're not distracted. And speaking of environments, right now you might be working from home like me. I've been working home for a couple of months now, and so there's a video I'm going to be releasing later this week that's going to go over some really cool tech tools that are going to help you stay on top of your work game if you are working from home. Now, these tools can also be used if you're working from home in general, not just during this week or during this situation we're in. But it's also going to help you at other times as well. So these tech tools are really cool. I'm going to be sharing those later in this week right here on the channel, and you want to make sure you don't miss this video. I promise you're going to get something out of this. There's some things that I'm using right here on my desk, and even one that I haven't even gotten in the mail yet, but I've been researching this thing for about a month, and I'm going to be using that, but I want to wait till I get it in to review it and share it with you. It should be here on Wednesday, and right away I'm going to shoot the video on that as well as everything else I'm using, because I think it's going to help you with productivity. Now, if you want to know how you can be notified, well, there's two ways to do that. One, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then click that bell notification, because then you'll be notified when I release a new video. The other way is through Improvement Professional Weekly, and if you are subscribed to that, I'll send you an email. But if you're not subscribed to the Improvement Professional Weekly, just go down in the comment section below or in the descriptions below, and I'll have a link to that, and you just click on it, and then I will send you an email weekly, and you'll get notified when I release a new video. Likewise, you'll get some other cool tools and tips that are offered right there in that Improvement Professional Weekly. So those are the two ways. And tip number 5 is to prepare and use your study materials. Prepare and use your study materials on your practice quizzes and your practice exams. See, a lot of these exams are open book. If you're taking an open book exam at home, then you get to open your book and you're gonna be timed and you're gonna get to look through the materials. Likewise, ASQ allows you to bring books into the testing center and you can use those open book materials. The problem is people rely too much on the materials and they're not familiarized with how the layout is. So when you're studying for your exam, make sure you prepare these study materials the same way that you would be using those study materials when you're taking the final exam. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on this too much because I've done a video on this before, and I'll post that in the description below. But the point of this is that as you familiarize yourself with the study materials on your practice exams and quizzes, you'll be less stressed when you actually take the final exam because you'll know how everything's laid out. Likewise, as you're processing through the practice exams and quizzes, you'll notice little mistakes here and there that aren't right, and you'll need to fix that before you're using it on the final exam. The last thing you want is to not prep your materials properly, get to the final exam, and then realize there's a lot of mistakes and you're eating up that valuable time. And then that's, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that's usually why people fail. Not because they miss all the questions, but because they run out of time. Now here's a pro tip you can do. You can simulate the testing environment. Now if you're taking an online course, it's rather easy because you can just designate a part of your office or a part of your home, and that's gonna be your testing environment. And every time you take a practice test or a quiz, you go to that area, and that's the way it's gonna be set up when you take the actual exam, right? Because you're in your home, it's a little bit easier. Now, if you're like me and you had to go to ASQ or you had to go to a testing center like Prometric, then you're going to have a situation where you don't know what it's like. There's a couple things you can do there. First of all, you can go online and Google Prometric testing centers in your area and just look at the pictures. They have pictures everywhere, and you'll see sort of the limited space available when you're in your little cubicle. You're not gonna have a lot of room to put books on the desk. I've covered this in other videos before, but here is a pro tip. If you call Prometric testing centers in your area, you can go in and schedule, well, you have to schedule it, but you can go in and actually visit the testing center. They call it a run through or dry run. You'll run through the actual process of them, telling you what you can take in, what you can't take in, your little locker and all that stuff. And they'll even usher you right into the desk or one of the desks of how it's gonna be set up when you go take your final exam. This does a couple of things. Number one, it really relieves the stress on you when you get there on the day of exam, right? Because you're going in, there's, take your wallet out, your bags out, you can only go in with this. It can be overwhelming and a little frustrating. But if you've already done that through your dry run, not such a big deal anymore. You already know how it's gonna be. You understand what the process is like, and you're sort of an expert at that now, right? Because you just go in there, you're not stressed about that. You put your things away and you're ready to go take your exam. The second thing is it gives you an inside look at the testing center. You'll know exactly how big it is because you're getting a first-hand look at how big the desk is, the layout of the computer, the layout of the mouse, and that way when you go back home, you can set your desk up or your practice area just like it's set up in the actual testing center, which is going to reduce stress when you go take the actual exam because you're used to taking your exams in that condition. And I'm telling you, I wish I'd have known this before I took my exam. I did not. And when I got to the testing center, I realized, man, there's not a lot of space on this desk for my books, for me to click the mouse, to do a little research. And when you're fighting for time, all that stuff matters. So that's the pro tip I wanted to share with you. Listen, if you like this video, make sure you give me that thumbs up button. Likewise, if you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe down below. Don't forget that video that's coming out later this week. And if you want to jump into the Improvement Professional Weekly, make sure you go down, click that link in the description below, and I will add you to that list. Thank you all for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all later this week.